Alright everybody, this is Sunday, January 7th. I haven't posted a video on my 172 scale Haunebu 2 German flying saucer for 5 months. I'm going to get back to working on this. Right now I've got it hooked up with the LEDs that I have on it now and to some power. I'll turn it on in a minute. I want to get back into working on this, so this is going to be the start of part 2. You can see everything looks good. I got to work on the control panels. Got to touch up the anti-gravity engine a little bit, and the rear control panels as well. I'm going to have to do a little more painting on those. The hatchway idea I came up with is turning out pretty good. I hit it with some primer. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the power on. I got it at 9 volts. Turn the overhead light off. And the front control panel, I've got just a 3mm blinking white LED, and white on the corner there, and then a warm one on the other side. And then that control panel, I know the overhead lighting, you can still see a little bit of lighting in there. It's blinking on some of the control panels. And then this one here, it's blinking a little bit. You can see, looks pretty cool. But I may change the lighting and go with warm white and white blinking control panels instead of having color to them, being that this was back in the 40s. Other than the warp engine, yeah, right, anti-gravity engine, looking pretty good. I got 2 slow RGBs in there for the engine effect. So I figured I'd give everybody a quick update. I'll be working on this today, probably wiring up some SMDs and changing the control panels lighting. The front I'm going to leave like that. I think it looks pretty cool. And that's with no fiber optics yet. So I'm going to go ahead and pause the camera, continue working on this, and I'll talk with everybody later. Alright everybody, back on the Haunebu 2 172 scale German flying saucer. This is Sunday, January 14th. What I want to do today is put the bottom saucer section together and the top. Now through the instructions here, it shows to put this together, but it strangely don't show this part for the top, which is easy, just the 2 E's attached to the D. So I'm going to go ahead and start working on this, and then the top section right here. I'll try to see if I can set up the camera to film those 2 steps, and hopefully that'll work out. Then the next step will maybe paint the Haunebu, primer it up and get it ready. And the interior's close to being done. So let me pause the camera, set it up, see if I can film the 2 parts I'm going to build, and I'll get back with everybody here in a minute. Alright everybody, hope this is in frame back on the Haunebu 2. In order to get these 2 lower saucer sections together, you have to put this on, and it'll give it good support, and then you can finish gluing the rest of the bottom of the saucer. And what I chose to do is use this testers and put the glue on the inside here, and then put it onto the 2 bottom parts of the saucer. Gives you a little time to play with this, and it does a real good job of bonding. Even though I have the Tamiya. Just takes a little bit longer to dry, or actually melt the parts together. You have to hold them there for a while. This is like instant, so let me go ahead and get this onto the bottom here. Okay. Alrighty. Alright, that's better. Alright, very good. I'll hold that for a few seconds here. The glue should do a good job. And I may try the Tamiya on the outer parts of the saucer, and I'll see when I get to that point. So let me pause the camera. When I figure the ends out, I'll be right back. Alright everybody, back on the handlebar. I got it clamped on this end and the far end, and I'm going to use some extra thin to glue the front part of the saucer here, bottom, and hopefully this will work. So we'll go ahead and give it a try. Hold it for a few seconds to hopefully it'll bond. A little bit more on. Seems to be working. I know probably hands in the way. Seems to be working. that's in frame or not. Just have to hold it tight for a little bit. Okay, try the other side. Hopefully that's in frame. Okay. Alright everybody, I'm going to pause the camera, work on this and finish it up, and then work on the rest of the bottom here, and I'll get back with everybody here in a little bit. Alright everybody, another update on the center here. I used the extra thin Tamiya and held it down for a few minutes, and it's held up really good. The ends worked out pretty nice too, but there's going to be some putty work over here. If you can see, there's a good sized gap in the part where it joins, and the same for the opposite side. I'm going to have to use putty to fill that in. So I'm going to let this set up and dry for a while. I figured I'd give everybody a quick update, and I'll talk with everybody later. Alright everybody, back on the Haunebu. It's dried pretty good with the Tamiya extra thin. I'm not going to really brag about this stuff here. I've had it for a long time. It dried up before I could use everything out of the tube. Be skeptical buying this again. I've been using the Tamiya putty, and it never failed me. I've had this tube for a long time. I only used a little bit, and I'm going to go ahead and use it today and fill this in here, and the other side, and then you can see I have it taped off here. That's showing right here. I got it taped off on each side. Let's go ahead and get some putty onto it. A little trusty little tool. Hopefully I'm in frame. And hopefully that's in frame. I'll let that dry, cure overnight, and then see how it looks like on the other side when I take the tape off. So I'm going to go ahead and pause the camera here and maybe set up the top section and get that ready and glued, and I'll be back with everybody here once that's all set up. Alright everybody, back on the Haunebu. I got the upper saucer sections on the table, and I'm going to have to snip this off and then get real close and to the saucer here and trim it, and then I'll have to do some sanding. So I'm going to go ahead and just cut this off now on camera, and then when I'm done with that, I'll pause the camera and work on the other two. Pretty thick plastic. So I got that off that one part of the top saucer, you can see here, and then I'll have to get close and trim that, but I'm going to do that off camera. I'm going to go ahead and pause the camera, work on the other two. Once that's all done, I'll go ahead and turn the camera back on and show everybody the results. So I'll talk with everybody later. Alright everybody, back on the Haunebu. I'm going to attach the three sections to make the top part of the saucer. I'm going to glue these in first. I'm using tester's glue here. A little bit on the, you can see it right in here, not much. A little bit heavy right there, that's alright. Go ahead and apply it. Shouldn't take too long for this glue to hold, start drying. It's all in frame here. Seems to be bonding pretty good. Okay. Let's get the last piece here. Do a little bit something different this time around. It might be better. Alright, let's see, let's just take that off. Like I'm making a mess here. That's alright. A little overflowing there. This side looks okay. Add a little bit more. Sticky, messy glue, but it does the job. Okay, flip this over. Okay, everything looks like it's good. Went together well, even though it looks like I got a little sloppy there with the glue. So I'm going to go ahead and pause the camera, let this dry, and I'll get back with everybody here shortly. Alright everybody, another update on the Haunebu. I got the two pieces together just to show everybody that hopefully it'll stay together. The bottom section of the saucer, I'll let that putty dry and cure probably overnight. The top is done. I'm going to let that dry too. I did use a little bit of the Tamiya extra thin on the inside part right here, just to give it some extra bond to it, other than using the testers here. So I'm going to put this to the side. I'm going to work on the interior next. I'll pause the camera and I'll talk with everybody later. Alright everybody, back on the Haunebu. I had to pause the camera there for a minute, and I was working on the ramp and using my sanding stick. So I'm going to go ahead and take the extra plastic off these rails and clean them up and get it ready. I'm going to use some extra thin to put the ramp rails on. So, let me go ahead and clean this up here. Good. Giving much room there to get to that. Clean it up a little bit. Hopefully this is in frame. That looks pretty good. Move on to the next. Okay, clean it up a little bit. Okay, that looks good. Get the rails ready, the glue. See the instructions here. Guess it really don't matter which end goes where. Let's get the glue. See how these fit. Look like they fit pretty good. Let me go ahead and glue them. This side first. bore everybody. It does take a little time for this to activate. Go ahead and get the other parts. Looks pretty straight. Okay, move on to the next one. Hopefully this is in frame. This ain't really bad glue to work with. It just takes a little time to dry, melt the plastic. But I think it does a good job on small parts. Looking pretty good. A little bit more. Hopefully everybody can see that. So the rail's about done. I'll let that dry for a while. I'm gonna go ahead and pause the camera, bring the lower section of the saucer up on the workbench, and clean these up and put them in place. And excuse me. Let me pause the camera, get that all set up, and I'll be right back. Alright everybody, back on the Haunebu. I have these two landing gear doors on both sides temporarily in place with some tape. Hopefully that's in frame. And then I have the two parts that will cover up those and keep them in place. And this little 45-degree angle goes on the inside of the ship, holds everything in place. Same with this side here. I'm going to glue them in place with some testers and extra thin for these little areas right here, these little pins. I'll use the Tamiya extra thin, but to glue it in place I'm going to go ahead and use the old testers glue. Okay. Hopefully this is in frame. Okay. Just let this fall in place. toothpick here. I went a little overboard on the glue, but that's alright. Let's get the other side here. Said I'm a little sloppy today. That's alright, this is all on the inside of the kit. You won't see it. Okay, let's get this other side here. Ready? Put that down in place. Everything looks nice and secure. And I'll just use it to me at then for those little pins. Okay. Hopefully this is in a frame. Alrighty. I'll let that sit, cure and dry up here for a little while and see what the results look. We're taking the tape off the other side here, and then the other two I can work on tomorrow. So I'll go ahead and pause the camera, let this dry, and I'll talk with everybody later. Alright everybody, another update. I ran into a little problem. I have this ramp finished, glued that today, and dry fitting it in place, and it is just too wide to open and close on either side. So I'm going to have to do my homework. Let me flip this over. Point it out to everybody. I'll have to use either my Dremel or a sanding stick, and you can see there's a, if the camera picks it up, there's a little section right here on both sides where this would catch when you put the ramp up. I'm going to have to work it down so that will fit, and I can do it on either side for wherever the ramp's going to open up. But I wanted everybody to know that I did run into a little bit of a problem with this. Not much to take care of, but I figured I'd do a quick update on this so whoever builds the kit, they're gonna know they may have the same problem. So I'm gonna go ahead and start working on this little problem, and I'll talk with everybody later. Alright everybody, back on the Haunebu. Off camera, I've been working on it. The other side here. I cleaned the parts up that I, the parts. I cleaned up the seam work that I puttied up last night, both sides, and looks really good. Now all I got to do is get it ready to primer and paint, but that's looking good. And I wanted everybody to see the homework I'm doing on this ramp. I thought I'd just have to clean off this one side here, and the ramp would open and close. I used my cordless here, and found out I'm still going to have to take this off right here. Camera should pick that up. You can see that like little lip right there. So I'm going to probably do a few minutes of this on camera so everybody can get the idea of what I'm going to have to modify to get that ramp to work. So let me go ahead and get everything set up here. Turn that on. Alright, I just wanted to show everybody what I have to do to modify this part for the ramp to go up and down on the ship. So I'm going to go ahead and pause the camera, finish working on this, and I'll talk with everybody once that's all done. Alright everybody, another update on the Haunebu. I had to bring out my diamond file plus the sanding stick, and I finally got the ramp in place. I have to do a little more cleanup, but it's nice and even and smooth on the bottom here, as you can see. If I flip it over, you can see that the ramp's in place. So what I'm going to work on next is the opposite side here. Won't open, and it's right here. I'm just going to go ahead and glue it into place with some Tamiya extra thin, and just secure that down, glue it in place. And then I need to work on the other two doors for the landing gear, and then the bottom will be done. So I figured I'd give everybody a quick update on the Haunebu, and I'm going to get started here with this side. Gotta make room here on the table. Okay, I'll just start working on this here. I'm going to glue it with the Tamiya, so I'll just go ahead and film that part. Hold that down for a few minutes to Make sure it starts gluing together here. Hopefully that was on frame there. Okay, I'm going to start working on these two sides right here. So I'm going to go ahead and pause the camera, start working on those two parts, and I'll get back with everybody here later. Alright everybody, another update on the Haunebu. I'm going to be working on the control panels today, lighting. I'm going to use probably one warm light, 3mm. It flashes, and then probably wire up two white blinking flash 3mm LEDs. I got the wire already cut. I got this cool little wire wrapping tool I'm going to use. I'll show how I use that. I've got the solder. I'm going to fire up my soldering gun here, and let me pause the camera, get that all set up, and I'll get back with everybody here in a minute. Alright everybody, I'm going to get started on wiring up one 3mm warm white flashing LED. I know there's hundreds of videos on YouTube that probably show this, but I'm going to show how I do mine on this LED right here. The longer end on the LED, which the camera's picking up, is always the positive. The smaller is negative. And I got the resistor right here. It's normally 470 ohms resistor for the LEDs that I get from HDA Model Works. I usually shorten it a little bit, almost to the length of the positive. So I just snip off a little bit on the end here, which I'll take it don't matter what side you go with. And then with this cool wire wrapping tool that I picked up, you can put there's a center hole that you can put the LED in. You can find it there, and then you got this offset right here. You can see that you can put the other end in, and you can see it coming through. And then all it simply does, I'll bring it down a little bit because I don't want the resistor up that high. I just want to give everybody a general idea how this works. And you just turn, and it'll wrap the wire around. And it does a great job, which I'm not doing right now. But you get the general idea, see how it wraps it around the... You can do it by hand, it don't matter. But I usually use that wire wrapping tool for the wire. But it's a cool little tool. Let's reverse that. Reverse that there. Okay, come on now, work with me here. Alright, now I'm going to go ahead and solder that on, but Wrong side. I want it on the positive side. There we go. I always put the resistor on the positive side. That's how I get my SMDs from Jerry's site. They're all on the positive side, so that's how I wire mine up. So I got my trusty helping hands right here. Hopefully that's all in frame. Solder's all ready to go. Hopefully this is in frame. Okay, that wasn't so hard. I got it soldered on, as you can see here. Now I'll probably shorten this up a little bit here on this end for the positive wire. And what did I do with that? Okay, here's the positive wire. Let's try this tool again. Put this down here. Put this in. Then just wrap it around. Does a great job. Okay. Next up is the negative end. Hopefully this is in frame. Okay. Wrap it around. These still might be available online. You'll have to check them out on Amazon wire wrapping tool. Okay. That's in frame. Alrighty. That's how I wire up my LEDs. Nothing to it. As long as you got your helping hands here. And let me get a battery and show everybody that works. Shut the overhead light off. And there you go. Come on. Oh boy. Try this again. Oh, hands today. There, now you can see it's working. Pretty cool. But it's nothing to it, you know. And then I'll use some shrink tubing to protect the ends so they don't touch one another. So I'm going to go ahead and call this a wrap for part 2 on the Haunebu 2. I'd like to thank all my YouTube subscribers. I'd like to thank everybody for watching. Subscribe to my channel, and I'll talk with everybody later.